This is not really an unboxing, but it kind of is. I am going to fit a dropper post to my Anthem 29er. So for $134 I bought this El Cheapo Zoom dropper post, and it's going on a Giant 29er, an Anthem, pretty old one. Now if I pull that down, you can see that that releases in there. Pull that down. So this is, it has to be an external mount because it's an Anthem. There's no way. Oh man, that is hard. But it's my fat ass that's going to have to release this, and I pull on that, and then beautiful. We'll see how we go. So the only reason I'm making this video, even though there are lots of them out there on dropper posts, in fact there is a plethora.
A what? A plethora?
The reason is because it's going on an Anthem 29er, and I haven't actually seen an install of a Zoom dropper post on an old Anthem. So I'm going to try it and give it a road test. Obviously. Okay, not that one. Not that one. Definitely not that one. Yes, that one. I did a fair bit of research before buying this particular Zoom one. So this is a cross section of my bike. Of course, I need the stack height, I need the total insertion depth, and I need a few other things. The other thing I'm going to do is, not on this video, but because it's too simple, but I'm going to put on a new cassette because I struck something with mine in the bush the other day and it's dented one of the rings and I can't bend it back out. Alright, let's do this. Now what this is going to mean, of course, is that I'm going to have to take off all of this other crap that hangs off the bottom of my bike, including lights, if they still work. Hey, they still work. And my tool bag. Now this is the only Achilles heel of this old Anthem 29er, which is that the seat post didn't come with an adjustable a clamp collar. Now I can still see where the old one was inserted to, so if I need to put it back in, I can. That must be for an 8-foot cyclist. Give this collar a bit of a clean. Always clean everything. Now you can see that's the minimum insertion depth there, so I'm just going to line it up approximately where it was, and it was basically down to there, so I've got a lot further to go. That's almost going to be down at the stop, I think. Yep, it's going to be pretty close. Just unraveled this cable sheath, and both ends are the same, so it doesn't really matter which end that you start threading through. Now I've swapped the bike around on the stand. It's got to route externally so that can drop down out of the way. So I think that has to cable tie round about there. So again, just because I know that this is going to be dropping basically like that, I've got to make sure that this cable is going to be, the cable sheath I should say, is going to be out of the way, so it has to clamp round about there so that it's got enough drop to droop. And then it has to be routed, and I'm going to run it up along the handlebars. So the plan is to follow this cable, which is for the back brake. Follow that up and basically bring it up in between the grip and the changer and brake handle assembly. So you get a sleeve, you get a little couple of glands, and you get a ferrule and a little end cable clamp, and of course the lever, which is, people say, feels a bit chintzy. It's just plastic, but you know, it's probably fit for purpose. It's probably okay. Now I'm just loosening these, and then hopefully I can just slide, slide that whole mechanism in just a little bit. You can see that's about probably 12-15 mil. And I can slide this on, knowing that it'll look like that. It's got to be loosened. Now what I'm hoping is that with that little part of the handle there, that it's not going to get in the way of the shifters. So this could take a little bit of adjusting and playing around with. I'm a bit of a tragic. Every time I walk past a construction site or whatever, see some cable ties lying on the ground that are pretty good, I think, yeah, I'll pick those up, and it's perfect for jobs like this. You get a couple of parts with the kit. You get this, and that has to go up in here. You get, that's the grub screw lock, and then that's just a cable clamp that when you finish the job, that goes on the end of the cable. The parts aren't labelled especially clearly. This one's referred to as an aluminium plug, and I guess it is. So you just thread it through from the front, sorry, like that, and that goes up and sits in that little receptacle ferrule. You can see I've taken the ferrule off and I've just put the part 5, which sits snugly over, and it looks better and it feels better, but when you thread it all the way through like this, and you can see that it is retracting, but it doesn't actually let the seat go down enough. So if I pull on that so that I can push the seat down, I can only just pull that out. So that means that and I can see it's already been damaged. First modification required. So this, I can see the end of this little sleeve protector up here, the dust cover, is hitting this mechanism here. So I'm just going to trim it just by a couple of mil with a pair of very sharp side cutters. I've taken about 3 mil off that, and I'm going to try that again. And this way I can slide that over the end of the cable sheath and it sits on properly like that. Much, much better. Third time lucky. There we go. Now I'll try that again. Pull that down. Pull it. Perfect. So that's what you need to do. Trim it a few millimeters, maybe 3, not more than 4 mil. Now I've got to wrap the cables. So I've already run this one super loose, and I'm just going to clip another one on. And I always try and get my cable ties to point the same way. Now that will go like that, and then that will end up following that cable through at the front. Show you before, when you're installing this, is you don't need to slide it all the way over the end of the bar. As long as you don't lose that screw in the bottom, you can screw this out and it actually unfolds like that, and you can just clip it around the end of the bar like that. So I've put in a tiny, like a holding cable tie there, one there and one there. They're all pretty loose, and then basically the cable has to be cut so that it goes up through the gripper here. So once you cut this cable, you're kind of stuck, so don't get it wrong. You might want to leave yourself an inch or two just in case the handle needs to be adjusted later on, the lever. You have to slide the little protective ferrule cover off that end, and this is obviously has to go up there. And when you're cutting this with a nice sharp pair of cable cutters, whatever you want to call them, side cutters, make sure that you pull your cable out of the way so that when you cut your cable to the right length, that you're not cutting your cable and your sheath. I mean, I know it's information for morons, but tips for young players: if you cut this cable accidentally, you're pretty stuffed. Now when you're assembling this, do a test run first. There are two ends. There's the black end and there's the silver end. That's got a sheath protector in it. If you try and do it that way, look what happens. It goes all the way through. So obviously that must go on the cable end, and this must go through there like so. Then this little adjuster ends up slipping on, and it becomes a micro adjuster, and it looks like it can go either way. And then the original ferrule that you slipped off the end of the cable goes in there, and that's what the whole thing looks like. So first, put the original little sleeve on, Okay, then goes the micro adjuster, and you can see that if you rotate it, it actually does screw in and out. So put it about halfway, slide that on, then the final adjuster, the slide goes on like so, pops out the other end, and that's what the whole assembly will look like. And then it slides up into the mechanism like so, and what you've got to do is, to do a test run, you've got to slide it through there and basically poke it through so that you can access it and clamp it. So I'll poke that through, it just comes out the edge there, just so I can do this temporarily. So I'm very much a fan of measure twice, cut once. Now we've got this slip-on ferrule lock there, so that just slides all the way through, like so. And then got an Allen key, that looks like a 2mm to me.
5/8? Don't you mean 3/4?
Tighten that up, 2mm, not a 2.5. Just nip it up and just see. I just want to be able to get that working, that's all. So every time I pull that through, it's a little bit more tension's come off it, which is, I suppose, a good thing. So if I pull on the handle, see what happens. Yep, so if I pull that down, let it go, I can do it slow, which is good. I pull it down and do it fast. Alright, looks like it's working pretty well. So next comes removal of this beloved physics seat. I remember when I bought this bike new, the guy at the bike shop said, "Mate, this seat might seem uncomfortable, but never sell it, they're quite expensive." And he's not wrong. Alright, so I've played with that a few times, and so what I'm going to do is, it's given me enough confidence to take this flex out, cut it to the right length, and that'll be that. It's all done. So I'm just lining this up for a final cut, and that's basically the position that it'll be in. So what I'm going to do is that really is where it should sit. Like that, mark that with I've used a bit of chalk, it's a bit dodgy, and then I might actually give it just a centimetre or two, just in case I find that it needs a bit of slack in the future. So this is the first position that I've tried, and I've found that when it's down here, I don't think my thumb is going to hit the downshifter, but I think basically that's probably around the right position. So I can either go there, or it can go on the other side, like so. So that's just a little bit too far away, so I think I'm going to have to try and make this thing work, because I've got two chain rings, of course, Anthem 29er, one of the first generations. It's going to have to work there. So it's got to be within easy thumb reach, and I'll just have to make that work. Another thing to consider is when you're rotating this, you can only rotate it so far, the whole mechanism, because basically you're defined by what your brakes and your gears want to do. They're the priority, but I can't bring this round too far. If I loosen that off, you'll see. So if I wanted to bring it round too much that way, I can't actually get this steel glide tube in. So it's got to be round. That's probably, there we go, it's probably the maximum there. So I'll probably fix that there and see how that goes. So I'm going to cut this now, but to make sure that I don't accidentally cut this cable, this sheath with a cable inadvertently inside it, I'm going to pull it all the way out. Alright, I've measured this again, got my chalk line, and here goes nothing. Now I might need to try and put a screwdriver in there just to make sure that that hole is not crimped and crushed too badly. So when you slide this through, make sure it goes through the bottom, and then you can see the little hole. Slide it through. Once that clip, the ferrule with the grub screw on it, is inserted into the sleeve holder there, the plastic sleeve in this cheap plastic handle. Pull the cable through, you can see it comes out the back there, and voila, which as we learnt from Ready Player One means, and then I found out.
Voila, which is French for, and then I found out.
Okay, and then we're done. I can just snip that up, take it for a test drive. Once you've got that wire pulled through, it does actually say, cut extra wire, reserve 20mm, insert the aluminium plug and fix it. Now I've done all that, and I'm going to reserve another 20mm, so that's what they mean is 20mm at the back here, so that if you get it wrong, you can still adjust it.
Now of course for the all-important field test. I've been using this dropper now for about 4 weeks. I've done maybe 200 Ks on it, and so far I'm really happy with it, especially for the price. There are some quirks, but I picked those up during the install, and as the saying goes, experience is something you get just after you need it. Because I've got 2 chain rings, sometimes I get confused with activation and try and change gears instead, but that just needs more muscle memory. All in all, it's given me a lot more confidence on descents and has let me tackle one drop-off that I would never have contemplated before. So, if you're thinking about this for your Anthem, chuck a Nike and just do it. You can't change the geometry of an Anthem 29er, which is a little bit outdated now, but you can put a dropper on and bring it up to speed with most other bikes. Thanks for watching.